Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Let's give everybody just a couple of minutes to get started. Before we get started here, we have some people rolling in. And Sam is going to be hopping on here with us in just a second. There he is. Hi, Sam. How are you?
Great.
All right. Awesome. All right. People are starting to roll in now. All right, Mark, you want to go ahead and get the deck up so we can get started here? I know you've got a lot of awesome information to share with all of us today, and I want to make sure that you have plenty of time to do that. Guys, as always, the Q&A is open below. If you guys have any questions for Mark during this presentation, we will be happy to answer those. So today we are going to be talking about the shocking top reason why accounting firms are winning clients, and that it may not be what you think. I'm Andy Sullivan. As you guys know, I'm the executive account manager here for QuickBooks. And as always, I have my partner in crime, Sam Schumacher, the director and product of solutioning here for Visory. But today, the main star of the show is our guest that we are so lucky to have join us today. His name is Mark Hurley. He is the CEO at Digital Privacy and Protection. Mark has got an unbelievable background here. He's done a lot in the wealth management, but the one thing that stuck out to me from the first time that I saw this slide was he's a graduate of West Point. That is pretty awesome. And then just talking to him before this, whenever Mark is not doing all of this crazy work that he does, he is the father of 5. He has 3 cats and a dog. I mean, where do you find the time to do everything, Mark?
Sleep is overrated.
Exactly. That has to be it. So the agenda for today is we are going to go over cybersecurity concerns and client trust. Then we're going to talk about leveraging cybersecurity as a competitive edge. Mark's going to give us some of his amazing insights. And then we're going to talk about partnering with some cybersecurity experts. And then we'll go through a Q&A. All right, Mark. Well, like I said at the beginning of the show, I thank you so much. I know you have taken a lot of time and put a lot of effort into all the wonderful information you're going to share with our people today. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you get started.
No, thank you very much. I very much appreciate the opportunity to be here. As you mentioned, I run a cybersecurity company, but it's very different than Visory. Whereas Visory provides this military-grade cyber protection platform for businesses that's extraordinarily hard for bad guys to get into. I deal on the other end of the continuum. My company provides services to the clients of organizations like yours. We help, we provide a low-cost turnkey service, takes care of everything for the client, and it's designed to help them protect them. But we also do is we do classes. We do these for free, but we do classes for accounting firms and for their clients to help educate them. And I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. Now, cybersecurity, I think I view as fundamentally a challenge, but also an incredible opportunity if you take advantage of it correctly. The challenge part's pretty self-evident. If you get breached, you're going to have 3 extraordinarily bad things happen to you. First, it's going to be expensive. Breaches typically cost in the 7 figures to fix because it's very difficult to figure out how it happened. And then once it's happened, to remediate the damage, you're going to be dealing with lawyers, you're going to be dealing with accountants, and you'll be dealing with consultants. But also, it's a real blow to a company's brand and reputation. A recent study showed that 2/3 of consumers said that if a financial services company they worked with lost their personal information, they would be reluctant to continue to do business with them. And then on top of that, the federal government has gotten involved in all of this. The IRS and the FTC have published a set of standards and rules for accounting firms, which they must follow. And because they've set out these standards, if you get breached, it's almost a certainty you're also going to get sued. In fact, if you want to have fun, go online on Google and type in cyber litigation, and you're going to get legions upon legions upon legions of firms. This is the new hunting ground for the trial bar. So getting breached is not good. You want to do everything you can to avoid that. Now that's the bad news. The good news is if you're working with a firm like Visory, it's going to be very remotely likely that someone can get directly into the systems. In fact, I've never seen that happen. Um, and the reason, of course, is you're using as a platform that is somewhat analogous to what both the military and the CIA use, which is zero trust architecture. And why this is a good news thing for firms like yours is it gives you an opportunity to differentiate your service. Most of your competitors, are using local service providers. And this is somebody who is probably very adept with technology, but all they're doing is taking off-the-shelf software and effectively packaging it and renting it out to firms. And they have almost no cybersecurity expertise, and the platforms they put together are very, very easy for the bad guys to get into. A recent study found that 90% of clients said that one of the most important factors in choosing who they're going to work with from a financial services standpoint, and that would include accounting firms, is how safe they think their information is going to be. So the first opportunity that I see here, if I were a firm such as yours, I would be pointing this out to clients. What you want to have, at least in my view, is that prospective clients, you want prospective clients to have to ask other people that they're considering about these questions. Because I can assure you, they don't have anything in the same zip code as this. And clients are very, very worried about this. The second opportunity that's out there involves the personal cybersecurity for clients. You can see here, survey after survey after survey shows two things. One, clients are utterly petrified about getting hit by cyber criminals directly. And most have no idea of what to do. And quite candidly, they have good reason to be worried. Today, cybercrime is bigger than the sale of illegal drugs worldwide. It's a $10.5 trillion business. The reason why the cartels are not into it is because nation states like China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea are in it. Everybody on this call has been breached. Everybody on this call will be breached personally. That's metaphysical certainty. And what we've seen now is a much more aggressive criminals and increasingly stealing larger amounts of money. Nobody we've ever worked with has ever been breached and lost money. But every week, someone shows up on our doorstep looking for help. And you can see a list of some of the examples we've seen recently. I could give you 10 pages of examples. About 5 accounting and wealth management firms a week are currently being breached across the country. Additionally, title fraud is rampant. And then if you talk to the guys at the Bureau, what they're really worried about is the online stalking. In fact, they have a separate unit just to deal with this. Now, part of the reason why this happens is that if you actually read the agreements that your clients, and quite candidly, you personally in your businesses have to assent to, if to use either a bank or to use a custodian or use a brokerage, you've agreed in the agreement that if you get breached and money is stolen from your account and you're even indirectly at fault, you are not getting the money back. For example, we had a family show up on our doorstep. The wife owned a couple restaurants. She had $360,000 stolen out of a Chase account. They called Chase, and Chase said, read your agreement. If you want to have fun, talk to Schwab or Fidelity about this. They will go apoplectic on you. But candidly, this is really unremarkable if you actually look at like the basis for any online commerce. Nobody ever reads those agreements that you have to click on. They just say you agree to this and you click. No one bothers to read it. But if you actually read the agreement, if you're using Amazon or StubHub or something like that, you've agreed to indemnify the company. So in other words, they can sue you, but you cannot sue them. Now, additionally, there's a reason why people should be worried about this is that 1 million passwords a week are compromised. And what happens is I'm sure you've seen all these companies get data breaches. Well, the second that happens, the cyber criminals have very sophisticated computer models that grab this information off the web, they put it into algorithms. They also collect other information about the people that show up in the breach. They can do this all automated using AI software. And then they hit their accounts using thousands of multiple variants on the passwords. Now, give you a sense of why, if you're not protecting yourself properly, you should be very, very concerned. There's a company called Hive that does an annual study where they do what's called a simulated brute force attack. And that's a fancy way of saying, I'm going to use a computer to correctly guess your password. At the end of 2023, for the first time, they decided to use AI software as part of this. Now, you can see, and if you look down this column, you go to the number 8 and go over to the far right, you can see that they found that now using computers, they can correctly guess any 8-digit alphanumeric password. This is uppercase, lowercase, symbols, numbers, etc., in less than 1 second. So if anybody on this call is using an 8-digit password, don't bother. You might as well just not have a password on the account. You might as well use password. It's very, very easy for the bad guys to get around this. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is, if you go down to the bottom of the page, you'll see they tried it with 18 characters that were alphanumeric, and it took 79 billion years. Now, these numbers every year compress. There's a new chip out from Google, which is going to facilitate quantum computing. Pardon me. But we recommend that, and we do this with all the clients we work with, that for every single account, the only way you protect yourself is you have to have a unique, randomly generated 20 to 25 digit alphanumeric password. The other reason why it's very, very easy for the bad guys and why your clients are good reason to be terrified is that if you buy a device like this, say from the Apple Store, or you get a Windows device, the way they're set up is they automatically record the credentials for every online account that you access. In other words, the password and the user ID. They do this because they make a lot of money collecting and selling your information. Well, the problem is, of course, is if anybody gets into the device, they've got all your passwords. And the only way you prevent this is you have to turn on a host of settings. And they make it very challenging. There's about 60 settings on an Apple device. There's about 120 on a Windows device. But if you don't do that, a very common attack that the FBI has an alert out right now on is what's called a shoulder surfing attack. That you go to a bar or restaurant, you're looking on your device, you're putting in your passcode, you're not paying attention, and somebody's looking over your shoulder. And with the help of a Confederate, they'll distract you and steal the device, and then they got all your passwords to everything. And this is why clients are losing millions upon millions of dollars on a regular basis. The other thing is smart home technology has become the rage. Everybody wants to be able to push a button on their cell phone and the garage opens and certain lights come on or the coffee starts cooking. And that's very convenient. But what's problematic is that these devices generally are not that hard to breach. And most people, when they set them up, they use the default passwords. And the way networks work is that if I can get into one part of a network, I can see what everyone else is doing on the network. And as a consequence, what will happen is they will breach one piece of the equipment, and then they'll sit and watch, copy all the passwords, and strike. For example, we work with a bunch of wealth management firms and aggregate they have about $500 billion of assets. But one of them is the largest aggregators in the United States. And in the midst of them diligencing us, we got a panic call from one of their senior execs, and he was locked out of his devices. He was locked out of his home network. They were into his personal accounts, and they're into his work accounts. Fortunately, he got us about 5 minutes after this happened, and we were able to freeze everything. And it's one of those rare instances where he didn't lose a lot of money. But what we figured out is they'd gone through the doorbell, and they sat and waited, copied passwords. They were there for about 2 weeks, and then they struck. And the only way to prevent this is every piece of equipment connected to the home network has to have a unique, randomly generated 20 to 25 digit alphanumeric password, and the network itself should never have the family name on it. Now, as much as clients should be concerned, you also should be concerned, because if you look at how firms like yours are actually getting breached, if you have a platform like Visory, they're not getting in directly. I'm sure they have to disclaim that and say, yeah, it could happen, but I've never seen it happen. What you're going to see happen, though, is they will go through clients to try to get to you. And one of the most common attacks that we're seeing is that if you have clients with poor personal cybersecurity, is they will hack into their email accounts. They can use computers to very quickly read all their emails and identify ones involving communications between your firm and them. And what they will do is write, again, this is all automated, using AI software. They'll write an email from the client that sounds like them, and they'll send back an attachment you may have sent them before. But that attachment will be infected. And when you open it up, they have access to your systems. More recently, one of the more problematic things involving clients and firms like yours is what are called deepfakes. And what a deepfake is the bad guys have figured out how to clone the voices and images of both clients and remote working employees. Now, if you have a social media account, there's a host of privacy settings you can turn on that limits who can see your information, but companies don't like that because they want to gather your information and sell it. Meta makes $60 billion a year collecting and selling information. And so they make it very complicated. They make it numerous settings. For example, Meta, there's 83 settings. LinkedIn's 113 you got to turn on. But if you don't do that, all the information in the account is effectively in the public domain, meaning bad guys can come in and see what's there, and they can download stuff. And what increasingly they're doing is they're going in and they're downloading videos from these accounts, and then using AI software, they're cloning the voice and image of the person. In fact, there's even today on YouTube a site where you can clone somebody's voice and image that you can use on a Zoom call, and it's very, very accurate. And there's a site for $4.95 that will clone anybody's voice, and the resulting clone will be accurate enough to defeat voice recognition software. Now, usually when I point this out, people say, yeah, but I have confirmatory methods. Well, what's happening increasingly is the bad guys have figured out how to get around that. And what they're doing is they're hacking into telecom accounts for clients, and they are changing where the SIM card. The SIM card is the part of the phone that tells you where the call should be sent to which device. And what they'll do is they'll redirect the calls to their phone, even though it will still show up on your caller ID as you're talking to your client. And as a result, you don't know who you're really talking to anymore. Now, as scary as all this stuff is, this is also a phenomenal opportunity, and a lot of your bigger competitors are already taking advantage of this. They know that clients are understandably very worried about this. They're very concerned about protecting their businesses too. So what they're doing is they're playing a role where they serve as helping serve as an advisor to their client on cybersecurity. Now, to be sure, when I say this, when I talk to people, they go, "Oh, that's not what I do. I'm an accountant. I'm very good at what I do." And I say, "Yeah, but you don't have to do it yourself." What they do is they bring in outside parties who help them educate clients. We do classes all the time. Happy to do it for anybody in this call, both for the employees and for the clients. And they'll also bring in vendors who can provide services to help address all of these things. And what a client needs to do to protect themselves is they have to get some technology, a password manager, a VPN, and a private email. They need to get all their accounts into the password manager, reset all their passwords to unique, randomly generated passwords, and they need to turn on about 900 settings on other devices and apps. If they do that, it's extraordinarily hard for the bad guys to get to them. Now, the one thing I'd also leave with you is we've run at many accounting firms that have told us, well, what we've recommended to clients is to go use one of these identity protection services. And if you take anything away from this call, I would really strongly encourage you to be careful about doing that. And here's why. Those services, for starters, are really like a pregnancy test, as opposed to the stuff I'm talking about is birth control. In other words, they don't prevent you from getting breached. All they do is let you know you have been breached. And after that, you already have an issue you got to deal with. But more importantly, the way they sell these services is they promise to give reimbursement guarantees to the client that makes them feel warm and comfortable. Oh my goodness, I can get $2 million of reimbursement. If you actually read the underlying contract, I would stipulate that it's largely uncollectible for two reasons. First, every one of the contracts I've ever read has an out for simple negligence. In other words, if a client makes a mistake anywhere along the way, they've agreed they're not getting reimbursed. Secondly, these are not policies like, say, if you're a home guy with a tornado, the insurance company will write you a check. These are umbrella policies. So instead, what happens is if a client's breached, the client then must sue everybody who is even marginally tangentially involved in the breach and spend a lot of money and a lot of time doing that. And only after they've done that, they can take the insurer to arbitration. And if they lose the arbitration, it's likely they're going to have to pay the insurer's legal fees. We doubt they've ever paid a material claim. Keep in mind, LifeLock, which is probably the most prominent one, was started by a con man in prison. So this, again, I think this is a great opportunity. Look, your clients own businesses. They're trying to figure out what to do about your clients are worried about their stuff on themselves. What do I do personally? What do I do to protect my family? What do I protect my kids? What do I do to protect my wealth? And what you're seeing your large competitors doing is they're saying, okay, we're going to work with vendors and provide services that don't take any time or any of our resources, but they allow us to give extra value to the client. And what I would encourage everyone to think about is you've got a firm like Visory. They're very sophisticated at what they do. They can help all of your clients' businesses. We're happy to talk to you about how to help protect them personally. But this is, I think, the sort of the hidden opportunity that people don't realize is out there. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah. So I know you got into the LifeLock a little bit. Have you ever seen where LifeLock has paid out to somebody on a claim?
No. In fact, what they have is only on a small claims court claim. If you actually read the agreement, you can take them small claims and you might get a few bucks. Pardon me.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for Mark? I don't see any coming in. Mark, why don't you tell us what, I know you had told my team that I work with, what all goes into protecting what your company does to protect people's personal lives and their personal data. Why don't you go into that a little more?
Sure. Well, thank you. Well, first off, everything around cyber is first driven around education. As I've mentioned, for free, we teach classes to both employees of accounting firms so they can have informed discussions with their clients, and we do teach classes to their clients. We have a webinar, it takes 30 minutes, and then we take questions. I'm doing this 3 or 4 times a week across the country and in Canada. Secondly, what our service is we do all the stuff for the client that the client could do and should do, but doesn't do. To do what I talked about here, all this kind of stuff here, on its own would take the client about 150 hours. We can do it in 1 3-hour appointment. And the service itself costs $35 a month. They pay us the first year's fee up front, then quarterly in advance. And we can get the client set up in a single 3-hour appointment that's painless. For the accounting firm, it takes almost no resources. In other words, you'll get a report, you're kept informed, it's your client. And the client can only get the service through organizations like yours. In other words, we don't go direct to consumer. And should the client fire you, they're also firing us. So it adds additional glue to the relationship that you have with your clients.
Right. And this isn't for their business clients. This is only for their businesses clients' personal life. You don't do this for businesses, correct? It's just personal.
Yeah. Think of this: Visory are the experts for your business.
Yep.
And part of this discussion you should be having, in addition to your clients about their personal stuff, your clients have businesses and they are at risk just as your business is at risk. And Visory has the ability to help you educate your clients about the risks and show them what they need to do to protect themselves and what types of technology they need to bring on board.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that you talked about earlier, which I thought was pretty interesting, and it's something that Sam and I talk to our clients a lot about, is more and more companies are gone remote work. Like myself, you know, I work remote, and more people are getting their houses are become increasingly smarter. You know, Sam's refrigerator runs off the Wi-Fi. You have the Google Homes, the Alexas, your TVs. Having that VPN for your segregated business stuff, it makes things so much easier, because, you know, back what you said was, if they get into your personal network, your home network, once they're on that network, they can see everything. So if you don't have your business segregated off, now you have not only your personal stuff that can be attacked, but also your business stuff as well.
Right. You should have a separate network at your house just for business. And you should have a different name on it. You never use the family name to do this for any instance. You want to make it hard for them to find it. But the bad guys look for houses with smart home technology. For example, I'm sure you're familiar with digital light bulbs that automatically you can turn on with your cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
They will rifle through trash cans of companies that have digital light bulbs, because they know that if they throw them out, there's a little chip on the back. And if you take the chip, it has the password. And from that, they're inside everything. That literally they've breached the entire system. They target houses that have this kind of stuff. So the only way you really protect yourself is you have to segment what you do for work and segment what you do personally. And you have to protect both. Otherwise, you're really opening yourself up to a lot of risk in doing this. Give you a statistic. A recent study found in financial services in general, 82% of all breaches were initiated through remote working employees. The only difference in your business, if you're working with consumers, is that they also are using the individual clients to get to you, as opposed to just going through your employees.
That is crazy. Does anybody else have any questions for Mark? I know we had one that just came in and I answered that out to you, Patricia. All right, let's go on to the next slide here, Mark.
Sure.
I think this is actually, you covered all that so quickly that I think that this is actually not going to be an hour-long webinar like we normally are, and we're probably going to be able to give anybody any time back. If anybody would like to talk to Mark going forward about, you know, his personal, what they do for your personal cybersecurity protection, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I will be able to put you in touch with Mark, and happy to do so. If you guys are concerned about your business or your clients' businesses, happy to talk to you about all of that. Oh, here we go. And then we can get something set up. All right, so actionable steps for your firm to take. First of all, you want to do a cybersecurity audit. This is just for your firm. So you want to do an audit. The IRS and the FTC are requiring that you have NextGen antivirus. I know that a lot of people are like, well, I have WebRoot, I have Norton. Unfortunately, those don't meet the compliance. You need to have a NextGen antivirus. And the main difference between the two is that WebRoot, going back to Mark's analogy earlier about birth control, WebRoot is the pregnancy test. You know, it lets you know after the situation has already happened, to where a NextGen antivirus is constantly monitoring your system. And once it starts to see something that is suspicious, it quarantines it, remediates it, and then lets the security team know that you had had a breach, to see if there was any further actions that need to be taken. The second thing that you're going to want to do, which we all know is a pain, is implement MFA everywhere you can. Anywhere that it is, turn it on, and make sure that you have that in place. Third thing that you're going to want to do, and you're going to start to see this more, is you're going to start to have clients ask you what security measures you have put in place. So make sure that you have a checklist that you can give to your clients, letting them know that you have the VPNs, you have the NextGen antivirus, you guys have MFA turned on all your softwares, and just give them the reassurance that you guys are protecting their data. And then also, I cannot stress enough to do the updates when those come out. I know it's a pain. I know nobody likes to reboot their computer, but usually when those updates come out, it is a security patch that is being implemented, and you want to make sure that you do that.
Yeah, if I can give an example why that's so important. There's various technology conferences every year. Now, a couple of years back, a Google engineer who was kind of showing off got up at the conference and showed that one day he just was screwing around and took a look at the new iOS for the Apple device and found a gap. And he figured out a way that he could send a text message to a device that the person didn't even have to open, and it would infect the device. Now, he's an ethical guy, so he went back to Apple and warned them, and Apple issued a patch. But in other words, the systems that are out there, they have to regularly be updated. You have to consistently do this. There is no idea that you do one thing. It's a constant process of doing this. The good news for you guys is, if you have a problem, you're working with an organization like Visory, this is what they do full time. If you're working with some sort of local internet service provider, oh my goodness, I mean, I can regale you with stories of the craziest stuff we've seen. And of all the things that you deal with, this is the one real threat to your business. I think there's always demand for your services. There's always the opportunity, sometimes the economy is strong, sometimes it's weak. But if you screw up cybersecurity, that's the one thing that can really put you out of business. More importantly, it's the one thing that you can distinguish yourself with. Why, if I was using something like Visory, I'm not opening, as part of my pitch to a client, I'm not letting out, let me explain to what we're doing to protect your information, and encouraging them to ask other firms that are considering what they're doing. If you're not doing that, that's crazy, because this is a massive competitive advantage, and clients are very, very concerned about this.
Very much. Awesome. Well, everyone, unfortunately, that's all the information that we have to share with you guys today. Mark, I thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about your solution for personal help. Oh, actually, hang on. Somebody else just popped up here with one more question.
Good.
Okay. Okay, we'll do. It cost me. Oh, no, never mind. That was something completely different. So I thank everybody for joining us today. And if you would like to get in contact with Mark, we will be happy to arrange that for you. And I look forward to seeing you guys all soon. Bye.
Thank you all very much.